I am when we start this. Yes, I'm getting back to our notes.
Yes, there you
You
go.
do see for today's. I might as
I
well
see,
hop into
yes.
it. Welcome to the Always Right podcasts. And
Yes,
today
welcome back.
we're covering memoirs and how to write one. And I was trying to say to you, I know you saw me this morning because I
Yes.
started thinking, have I read any memoirs? And I only remember two of them, which I know we'll discuss here in a little bit. But I am author Jamie Vendera, and this is my co-host.
Carissa DeLay, author
Yeah.
Carissa DeLay.
You know,
Yes,
I'm gonna
yes.
get scalded after this is done. Like, how dare you? You're not doing it in the right order. You go. No, I'm just teasing. She don't care. She lets
You
me
know
go
what?
however
I
I
do
want to
not,
go.
yeah, no. Yeah, I'm
All
not worried
right,
about that.
so I'll let you start it now that they're confused by what we're covering today.
Okay, I do want to start the episode because I have to get this screenshot. You know how I play video games,
Yeah.
and I took a video of this thing that happened in the video games, and I'm like, I gotta get a screenshot because the guy who was on my team, because it's a 3 versus 3 team, his name was Beefalo. One of the words that we have on our list.
You've not heard of beefalo before? You've never heard that?
No, what is
Yes.
that?
I don't. I just remember being on a construction site and there'd be like cows out in the pasture, like, look at all them beefalo, you know, because redneck
Oh,
construction worker being
buffalo.
stupid. Yeah,
Okay,
beefalo. Yes. I
all
did have
right.
a new word. Oh, I came up with it. If you watch the video I did for episode 7, and I said we're going to discover if Carissa's psychic or not, and I was thinking creative intuition, which is not really a new word, but I thought that's kind of cool. I've got creative intuition. It just came to me. I knew how it was going to look inside that airport or that military base in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now reel me back in, or we will not get
All
this
right, we are
episode done.
talking about memoirs. And the
Yes.
reason we're doing this is because we discussed this in an episode when we were talking about different stuff that you asked the question, how is a memoir different than a personal essay? So therefore, I put it on the set list, and we're going to discuss what a memoir is and how it's a little different from not only personal essays, but a little different from an autobiography as well. So,
Now you know how to look with just a mustache.
Oh, that looks weird.
I know. So here we go. So, take it away, Carissa.
What exactly is a memoir, Jamie?
I believe it is, without reading your notes, it's like a personal account of your life. You know, you're looking back on the reflections of your life. Now, if this is a memoir, I do got to ask you this because I read through the notes, but you know how I am. Would you consider a memoir has to come from the first person account, or could somebody who was closely related? No, could it be like, hey, I grew up with Prince, so I'm writing his memoirs for him, but it's my account?
I feel like you probably could do that, but the thing is, there's a difference between a memoir and an autobiography and a biography, because a biography is written usually by someone else. Yeah. I would almost think that classifies as a biography of their life, because Prince didn't write it, and a memoir is from that perspective of your personal experiences. And typically it focuses on it like a specific period or a theme in your life. It's not like an autobiography that kind of covers maybe more of your life. So there is a difference. So, go ahead.
This question came up because I put 2 books, which we'll discuss here in a minute. One about W.C. Fields and one about Motley Crue. And one of them is definitely a memoir. And I knew the other one wasn't. And I thought, I better bring this up so people understand. All right, take it away.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I just wanted to kind of briefly discuss that what a memoir is in comparison.
I know. I haven't pulled this one out in a while. And you said before we started, this one will be an easy one. This will be 30 minutes. And I thought, she don't remember who she's podcasting with.
Right.
So, all right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Like I said, a memoir is more based on like specific events or a theme in your life. Kind of is a little bit more focused on it in a time frame, I feel like, versus where an autobiography, if you're writing that, it's going to be more comprehensive of your life. It's going to be more from birth to you know, where you are in life aspect. Something that I put up here is I wanted to talk about some of the memoirs that maybe we've read to kind of give an idea. And I haven't read very many memoirs personally, but Anne Frank's diary, I read that when I was younger, and that is considered to be a memoir because of how she wrote her life story. That one here, I kind of, for people who've never read Anne Frank's diary, I remember reading that as a kid. And this is written during the 2 years that she was hiding in Amsterdam. And it's this account of her experience and her hopes of maybe making it out. And I remember it was in an attic to someone's house that I think she was 13. I think Anne Frank was 13 when this happened. Anyways, she writes to Kitty. I think that's what she calls her, where she, like kind of like who she's writing this letter to. She reveals her thoughts, her dreams, her frustrations about life and hiding. She puts these daily entries in there. I mean, I remember being inspired as a kid thinking about it was almost like that whole it's always worse for someone else. You always think you got it bad. Think of people like Anne Frank. Think of people who had it worse during these times, people who were ripped from their families, people who had to hide because of who they were, because they believed a certain way. But it kind of like for me, it kind of put this timestamp on for me of the Holocaust. When I think of the Holocaust, I always think of Anne Frank and the boy in striped pajamas, the movie. Those are two things I think about. Yeah. But you put a couple on here.
Yeah, but let's discuss this because as I put them in, I'm not really going to go over W.C. Fields and me. The only reason I mention it is because I've never really read real accounts. There's been 3, and I'll tell you the other one I didn't mention. W.C. Fields was actually the first book. I don't know why I was inspired by him. I love his old movies, and it was Carlotta Monti, who was his girlfriend, and she did cover a specific time frame when she lived with him for like 14 years, but this wasn't from W.C. Fields, so it would not be considered a memoir. The first memoir I read was the Heroin Diaries by Nikki Sixx, and this was like a true memoir. This was covering a year of his life back in the 80s when he was on heroin, and it was more he was pulling from pages of his own personal diary, how he died, how he was brought back to life. I did read a memoir last year by a drummer named Bobby Rock, and the reason I did is he was in a band called Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and what really pushed me to want to sing high and develop my voice was 2 bands, Vinnie Vincent Invasion and then Nitro. And then Nitro is the one I went crazy over. But Mark Slaughter, the singer for WWII, is just phenomenal. So there was all these rumors around the time, like they had out an album and they had another singer, Robert Fleischman, who was an amazing singer. But the rumor was Mark Slaughter had sent in a cassette, a demo, and it got lost with who it went to. They didn't have an address, and they really wanted that singer, but they had to settle for Robert. So this was a big rumor for years. And it wasn't true. So the reason I read that memoir, I wanted his full account of what happens.
Oh.
But yeah, so, and it was only both the Heroin Diaries and sorry, Bobby Rock, I can't remember the name of your book. Loved it though. It was a quick read, but both of them basically covered about a year or so. So that is a true memoir. It's coming from the person and their experience in all of that.
Right.
Because it really wasn't Bobby. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. I was saying like I was saying with the memoir, it covers a specific time frame. It's not necessarily from here's where I was born. Da, da, da. Even though they may throw a few of those things in there, they're not giving all of that. It's more of a memoir of what happened as like
in their life.
A lot of presidents and vice presidents and the wives of presidents, like first ladies and stuff, will write books about their time in the White House and being the wife of the leader of America. Those right there are not about like everything in their life, even though they may filter in a sprinkle of things. It's mostly about their time in that position of that theme that was running as being first lady or president or whatever.
Yeah, I had a guy reach out, and no disrespect to this person, they reached out and they're like, I want to write my memoir. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to talk about my time as a rapper. What have you done? I've played a couple gigs. I mean, he's played a lot, but it was never of anyone on national, a level. It was like small hometown, couple songs around Portsmouth, Ohio, and I'm like, okay, that's great. As long as he's like, I got so many stories to tell. I'm like, I'm not being mean, to be a tough sell unless you really spin it right. So if you're thinking about writing a memoir and you're like, but I'm not famous or this or that. Hey, he said, why don't you write a memoir? I mean, I'm like, who wants to read my memoir? I really don't think that I've accomplished enough that would do it. So if you're in a boat like me or this guy, what message would help others? What could you get across? Maybe nobody knows you, but you had drug addiction and you died and you were brought back to life, and you were the one that completely turned your life around, and you think that can affect and help other people, then absolutely. So to me, if you're going to write a memoir, you got to have a message, a strong message.
I think yes, you have to. I think you have to have a strong message when you're writing when you're writing a memoir. But at the same time, sometimes your message can be the little known person, the little known or little unknown person could be the theme of it. The theme being the person that this is what I experienced as an unknown rapper. You
Well,
know,
good. I'm glad that you said that because I didn't come up with that, and I want to push him to watch this episode. And
yes.
I'm not going to give it away. I will say, hey, I talked about you in this episode, and my partner gave you the avenue to help make this
Mhm.
big.
Yeah, and we always talk about this in episodes where we're like, okay, you know, are you writing because you're trying to make it big and make money, or are you writing because you want to just write that message, whether 2 or 3 people read it or no one reads it? So you can't really say don't write a memoir because you're not no one. Write your memoir because who knows down the road who might pick it up and be like, you know what, this guy is no longer here, but man, that song, we're going to use that song. I'm going to pay his family royalties.
You know, you do not realize the powerful message you just gave. I was filming John Bender, who wrote the Pigeon Trainer book, and we're
I'm
talking about
familiar with
his.
John.
Yeah, and we're talking about sales, and they're good, they're okay. And he's like, Jamie, it wasn't even about that. I'm not worried about making money. I just really wanted to get a message out there. He said, if it helped one person,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm happy. And it did. They had like over 150 people at his house. They had like this national convention for people who fly and do the pigeon training. So there were tons of people like, wow, I love that book. I got several of them on video that we'll be sharing. So that's the powerful message. Are
Mm-hmm.
you getting into this because you want to, I want to become rich and quit my job? I mean, that's a great dream. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when that's your focus, you don't have the passion. And we've seen that on Kindle, with 50 Shades of Grey, Twilight, then everybody else is trying to copy and make their mark. You gotta be passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing. Don't think about the dollar signs. Think about getting your message out and feeling good.
Yeah, that light was extremely bright in my face for some strange
Mine or
reason.
yours?
Mine, for some strange reason, my lights today, my eyes are super sensitive to my lights. They're not even up high. And are you having some kind of aggressive thing with your screen because you keep hitting the table and it shakes your screen like
I
this?
think I'm just, how some days, it's like I told you before, I've had 40 freaking students text me this morning and dealing with other things. And I'm like, then my brain's just like, there's a little BB inside my brain doing this, and I can't sit
Yeah.
still, and I'm going. So,
Ants in your pants.
yep.
Well, one of the other memoirs that I listed was Eat, Pray, Love, which of course was a huge hit. It was a really top selling one. And this one is about Gilbert, Elizabeth Gilbert. This is after divorce, and she takes like this self discovery journey. And there's a movie
Yep.
about this. And so this is just kind of her life and her travels after divorce and rediscovering who she is. So I feel like sometimes it doesn't have to have like that. I mean, I'm sure when she wrote this, she wasn't doing it because it was like, I don't know, like, oh, I'm going to sell millions of these. I think sometimes people write things because it's like your journey can inspire someone else. Like we said, your journey, whatever piece of it might be something that helps someone down the road. Be like, that really helped me.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't believe I can't think of the word when, it's like going to a psychiatrist and everything came through. What is wrong with me today? It's
Mm-hmm.
just this big a release. It could be healing for you. So
Right.
maybe you're writing it like with the Heroin Diaries. He wasn't writing it to put it out as a book. That was his diary
Mm-hmm.
to make it through life, to
Mm-hmm.
journey through his mind and get this out, to have some kind of release so he could recover.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to think of a memoir as almost like this. You're getting an inside view of the author's mind. You're getting this intimate journey, revealing who they are. It's more of like, it allows you to connect to the author on more of a human level. I feel like, especially like I know I mentioned this with the president's wives and the presidents and the vice presidents. I feel like that's a really good one because they're so high in power that, or even just celebrities or whoever. Whenever they write these memoirs, you get an inside view of who they are outside of their fame. Outside of that, you get to see kind of maybe an inner workings of their personality as a human.
Absolutely. I'm trying to behave.
Why? All right, so I have next something I want to discuss is like we talked in the episode before was memoirs versus personal essays, because you posed that question. Instead of answering it on the podcast, I put it down as a full episode. We didn't overlap the episode we were trying to do, but at the same time, we could take this topic and bring it as a separate entity
Okay.
into the episodes.
So a memoir would be kind of like with Nikki Sixx. It's a period of his life, like a year, and an essay could be like maybe like my weekend vacation in Cancun, and you're revisiting that and explaining that. So it's more of a snapshot of a specific memory. Am I correct?
Yes, yeah. It's an essay is more of like almost like a smaller version of almost like a mini memoir. I feel like of a
I have this done
specific.
before. I have this done before the end of this podcast. So, if I was to do a memoir about my glass breaking journey, I would start back in 2004 when Jim asked me to take his place on Good Morning America. And I would tell this account up to 2014 when I got the glass stuck in my throat, maybe a little bit after because I did a few more shows. If I wanted to do an essay, it may have been, hey, my first television show on Good Morning America and the 3 days I spent in New York. So
Right.
it's just a
And
snapshot.
yeah, you wouldn't elaborate. Yeah, it's almost like that tiny little experience. But like comma, if that 3 day in New York turned into an amazing weekend with so many things that happened, it could turn into a memoir of those 3 days and what you personally experienced as a guest on Good Morning America.
That would be a much longer, right, then.
Yeah, a memoir would be a lot longer, more detailed narrative, I should say, of like what's happening, but typically goes for a longer span, so where a personal essay is often just like a chapter of your life. It's very small.
Okay.
And the purpose of a memoir. So the purpose of a memoir is often to share that specific story, like I said, with a set of experience shared and offering a journey and personal growth. So you're seeing where you started and to where you come to an end, and what that phase of the experience you're sharing helped you develop towards the end. You know what I mean? Like we said with Eat, Pray, Love, she is going through a personal journey and her travels. Even though she's sharing her experience of the travels, you're also seeing her grow as a person. Same with people that experience fame and they write a book like, when I started fame, look how I've changed and this is the things that happened. Personal essays are going to be more like, I can't even think of something.
I mean, maybe it's more like a reflection, like it's not so much to get an overall story or point, or like, yeah, I knew I shouldn't have went to Vegas that weekend. I mean, it's like really to the point and isn't like a big, broader, more, mental experience, but something very, very tight and specific. Where I could say that, my journey through glass breaking has changed my life because it opened me up. I wrote more books. We created the Dr. Box product where I could say, wow, I could talk about an essay about me being in Amsterdam and doing a show and just tell a story about how the producer was kind of a wise ass to me and grabbed my face and says, don't let me down. And then I did amazing. And afterwards I grabbed her face and said, you didn't let me down, or something like that. And it really did happen. I was like, see, I told you. And that's more of a funny little quirky thing. It didn't really amount to a life-changing event, but it's like, see, I had someone who didn't believe in me and I showed her that she was wrong. So it's quick, it's to the point, is how I would look at an essay.
Right. And so another way to think of this too is like with an essay versus a memoir, essays kind of just they don't have a set structure. They're not like we've talked about writing stories, we've talked about fiction, nonfiction, all these different types of writing styles. And we always go over the structure. We always go over the themes and the arcs and all these things. Personal essays don't have to have those. They're just get it out there. So whereas
so you're not building up and having a resolution necessarily like you would.
Right.
Here's
well,
the
you're not showing that. You're not showing where it ends. You're not like building. So like when you're reading a memoir, you're like, I'm very intrigued to know how they started and once they experienced it and then how they came to the end. There is an arc. There is a story arc from beginning, what's happening in the middle, the experiences in the middle, and then how those experiences turn out for you in the end. There is kind of more of a theme of conflict and resolution when you're writing a memoir, even though it's nonfiction and it's personal experience. There's still those main structure points as a personal essay would not have.
So if you are writing a memoir, you need to take this into consideration. How
Yes.
did it
Yeah.
start? What's the problem you had? What was the conflict? How are you resolving
Yeah.
it? What lesson did we learn?
Bring me in? Why are first? It's almost like you're doing something. You're throwing it out there to bring people in, like the life of the first lady. The life on the road of Taylor Swift. I mean, these aren't. I'm not, but I'm just saying that would be kind of a cool book for Taylor to write. Is my Eras tour journey, the experiences from beginning to end of that extremely long tour. So those are the things you're getting, the inside views. Like I'm pouring out the good and the bad. I'm not just saying, oh, it's all butterflies and rainbows. No, you're sharing everything that connects to a reader who also experiences these things. Like, oh, you're not much different. You may be the first lady, but I've experienced these same things myself. And there are
Gotcha.
a lot of those books, a lot of the first ladies are on the bestseller lists. I was looking, and I didn't put them in our notes because I didn't want this to become a political one of which
Hmm.
ones I was listing. A lot of presidential ones, and a lot of, because I looked at some of the top ones, and a lot of those have to be with a lot of the political ones. People read those, the insides of that one.
But yeah, that's because people, I mean, when you do memoir, you have like the specific events, their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a lot of that, what was
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with her husband, with everyone else who was in the White House? What
Mm-hmm.
specific events happened during that time period?
All right. So now let's talk about publishing a memoir. So this is very much like the steps we've discussed in the past. Self-publishing, you can go with the traditional route, but the additional tips here, I put like marketing and stuff. So understand your target audience, which we've always talked about, of course, and tailor it to your category. Try not to be too over the place when you're doing like, oh, like I experienced this and this. Maybe you should write several memoirs if you have several topics you need to talk about, but try to isolate the topic you want to target a certain audience. And this is key when you're putting it into KDP and you're trying to advertise it and market it, so you know who you're hitting as a target market group. Is it a fan? Is it a cultural group? Are you talking as a refugee? Are you talking as a woman who's overcome um, physical abuse, sexual abuse? Like, what is your target audience are you trying to bring in?
So would this pull in like professional advice? Because if you're talking about this type, if it's sexual abuse, if it's this, if it's, uh, trafficking, if it's overcoming, addiction,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Well,
assuming there's
and that's
some
where I
sort of.
feel like I feel like there you have to have a specific type of editor. You have to have a certain type of professional guidance with this to know how to market that one. I feel like you should reach out to some of the Facebook groups, some of the communities that are online. Some of these places, people, even authors maybe who've done the past will help you and say, how did you, whatever, or even talk to your library or local bookstore and say, hey, I'm writing a memoir. When you are selling these like which ones are you finding that people tend to gravitate more, like what is bringing people in? Maybe that would be a good thing if you're looking for sales. But like I said, with the guy who's the rapper from the area, maybe you're just trying to target your smaller people. Maybe you just want to be that local celebrity. So persistence,
Yes,
always.
this is for everybody.
This is
Yes.
persistence is always a thing, and a grandiose theme in publishing is persistence. The process is lengthy. It requires a lot of dedication, and you have to be patient and you have to persevere if you want it to be successful. If you just want to put it out, then you're just putting it out. You're not actually taking the time to make sure it's done right, and you're going to get what you reap what you sow.
Yeah, I
Persistent.
just read an author's book, and she's produced some films, and one of the first films she done, she had hit up over a dozen production companies. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, no. And her partner said, just forget it. And she says, don't you ever tell me that. This is
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiable. This is going to be a movie. Made one more call. Bam. And she it wasn't even like, do you want to do this? She's like, look, here it is. You want to do this. The time is right now. And it happens. And so you may reach out to publishing company after publishing company, and you're constantly rejected, and you don't want to self-publish. You definitely want to publish, or if that's your situation, what if you finally give up, but there was another one on your list, and you was like, they're going to pass me up?
Yeah. Well, look
What
at
if?
Harry Potter. He was turned down.
Absolutely. Again and again. Yes.
And didn't was it Scholastic that produced her or like put
Yes.
her out?
I think it was Scholastic.
I think so too. I don't remember. I'm memory looking in the book, and I think it was Scholastic that put it out. Which is like every time I hear Scholastic, I think, oh, I'm nostalgic for a book
I
fair at
am too.
school.
Yeah, have the book fair and you can order them. But I remember my mother bought me the first two Harry Potter books. That's all that was out in like 2000 or whenever it was. And the next thing I know was a year or so later, boom, they have movies out. I'm like, that was like, whew, like how her life turned around.
Did they put
So,
the movies out before all the books were done?
oh yes.
Did
I
they?
mean, no, the books were started before I mean, the movies were started before all the books were done. She was still writing.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure now. Someone's going to correct me and tell me I'm wrong, but I
God.
swear that when I got these in like 99 or 2000, there was only two books out. I may be wrong. Hey, Harry Potter fans, correct me. And never mind, Carissa's correcting me right now because I
I'm
think the
looking
movie.
it up only because I want to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I can't remember when did the first movie come out? Maybe 03 or 04. Might have been 02.
Let's see.
If I had my
Um,
glasses, I'd let you know.
all right, so we will correct Jamie on live on here. Yes, the Harry Potter books were finished before the movies were released. And the reason that not because I knew this because of I didn't read the books back then or watch the movies when they first came out. I didn't even start watching the movies until I think movie 3 maybe. And because my friend at the time who always gave me good advice on books and movies was Michelle Green, and I would always kind of go with what she was saying because she knew the stuff I would like. Anyways, back to this. Because there is a part in the movies that Snape, the guy who played Snape, knew a certain part of the book that most of the people did not know that J.K. Rowling shared. So he
Hmm.
knew this the whole time he's acting. He knew all this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, see, my false memory comes from my mother getting me the first two books. And she's like, you got to read this new series. I thought that's all there were. And so, just in my mind, when the movies came out, I was like, what? That was quick. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember reading the first book and being mad at the first movie because who was the young boy who was in the plants? And
Oh, Longbottom? Neville
Longbottom,
Longbottom?
like in the first book, he was such a prominent figure. It was
Yeah,
the
you've said that
four of them.
before. Yeah,
And
you've said
so I'm
that.
like, what? Of course, that's
Why
how it
four
is with
movies?
every movie. They always
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got kind of disillusioned, and I was like, I can't finish reading the books because I'll be mad at the movies, and I love the movies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's a book series. There's so many books in that Cassandra Clare writes that my daughter reads, like the Mortal Instruments, and I'm so sad they never finished those movies. I thought they were really good. They were very kind of in my realm of what I like to watch and things like that. But anyways, okay. So my last part here, I did put in a little fun fact about the Guinness Book of World Records has the
that's what I was
the
trying to get to. I hit my thing and lost all your notes. And
yeah.
yes, I saw that. I was like,
Yes, the
what?
Guinness Book
There's
of
no
World
way.
Records for the fastest selling nonfiction book of all time. In the first 24 hours, it sold 1.43 million copies in the US, UK, and Canada. Prince Harry's memoir, Spare.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. If you could write a memoir, let's talk about this. What would you title it? What would it be called?
Something with glass. Probably like the JDHD redneck hippie glass shattering.
That is not catchy.
Okay. I would you'll laugh. I would probably title it The Crystal Singer. And the reason being is Anne McCaffrey had written this series called The Crystal Singer, and one of my new agey friends back in the 90s like, Jamie, you got to read this book. It's
But
your
what?
past life.
Yeah, but why
And
would you call it the Crystal Singer? Call it the Glass Singer.
yeah, but I shouted crystal, not glass.
Oh,
And
so you
so
can't do glass shattering; it's crystal shattering.
yeah, well, yeah, because it's the frequency. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can blow any type of glass, it just doesn't resonate like that. So it's like pure crystal, and it's so funny. I read that fiction series, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool, and it kind of stuck in my head all those years. So it was kind of weird how it came around. My vocal coach shattered crystal wine glasses in a music video. Then I read The Crystal Singer, and yes, and I'm stealing that name of the book, but it's a memoir. It's not a fiction thing, so
Right.
It's different, but I probably would. Or I would title it JDHD, which is not catchy, but it's truthful.
Yeah. All over the place with Jamie Vendera.
Yes. What would you title yours?
I don't know. I thought about this. I kept thinking about this, and I'm like, I'm not really sure what facet. I mean, I could do the life of a military wife. I could do the mom of twins. But like at the same time, I'm like, I also live with a bunch of Virgos. I don't know.
You would have. Do you really? That's what my
Yeah.
wife is. Okay, now I understand the problems. I get it. You would
Mhm.
have to write several memoirs. Tattooed hair queen, alien archaeologist.
Yeah.
I could do multiple pen name personalities.
Yes.
Because even when we got a podcast coming up.
Yes. You talk about one. I was like, isn't that you?
Yes. I was like, my favorite horror author is Drusilla Winters. Wait a minute.
All right. So now we know what a memoir is. We know what a personal essay is. And what an autobiography is sort of like not that. It's kind of like, it's almost like Goldilocks. That one's too big. That one's too small. Oh, this one's just right. Memoir is just right. Personal essay, too small. Autobiography, way too big. All righty. We always appreciate you listening, and we like when you tune in and hear us be silly and talk about all the things of writing. So if you'd like to find out more, follow us on all of our social media. You can go to alwayswritepodcast.com, click on any of those icons, take you to our listening platforms and take you to our social media. We typically post a lot on Instagram and Facebook. If you feel like reaching out on there, you can, or you can email us. You can email us at alwayswritepodcast@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you if you have an interesting email. Don't be sending me no spam.
Beeflow@gmail.com.
Yeah. Don't be sending me no spam.
Yeah.
I don't
get enough of that.
Spam in the can.
I don't like spam.
Actually, I don't know if I like spam. I don't think I've had spam. But if I ever went to Hawaii, I would definitely try spam because it's like a major import there is spam.
Really?
Yes, they love spam. They have restaurants, like high-end restaurants for spam.
That is crazy.
I remember the old commercial, Spam Burger Hamburger. All right. Thank you for listening. I am author Carissa DeLay.
And I'm author Jamie Vendera, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening, and always write.